let's do some crime. Kind of, not really, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, with this, I kind of like this sort of series because it's chaotic. Because it shows sort of the whole point of the main character Moriarty. I love if I do this, it's like, the main character Moriarty and the Invisible Book. Which you can clearly, again, that's clearly just stupid. But I love all of these. And this, actually I'm not going to talk about that. That's a spoiler thing. But again, the information, and one of the other things we like, which I think I haven't said too much about, is the paneling. Which I think is done in a fun way. It's not done, there's some other comic, which I wouldn't say do it better, but have like that dynamic of like panels going into each other, if you know what I mean. Look at my favorite hero, well, one of my favorite heroes, my favorite actual hero, is one of the Spider-Man. And no, it's not Peter Parker, it's Miles Morales. He's one of my favorite Spider-Mans. That's besides the point. If you look at Gwenpool, which is one of my favorite Spider-Man, she goes through the panels and you have stuff like that and other stuff. Well, you do get some stuff like that, but it's mostly how the panels interact with each other, which is better. But, so I knew, actually, I did I not, but I knew this was going to be long. Or at least, when I get to sort of this one, was going to be long. Why? Well, simple. What does this book have that the others don't? Well, that's simple. This introduces Moneypenny. And a lot of people are like, oh, what's the point? It's just Moneypenny. It's because, the reason why is because I watched the original anime. And the reason why I bought these books is because some people said there were some characters that weren't in the anime that were in the book. If you look at the original, specifically on TikTok, the Pacific Moriarty review for the TV anime, which is not going to get a season 2, I think, at this point, because there's not enough, I think, to make another season, but it's enough that I would want another season. But if you look, they talked about 2 characters not being there. Billy the Kid, not in this yet. I would like one. He wouldn't have been in the anime even if they did it. Definitely because he appears after where the anime has stopped. Which I'm not against. If you want to tell the story up to that point, that's a fair point to end. And I know there is one, like, the little, like, thing that they do is cool, but I do also agree that, like, you could have just not had it. I do think it's a good idea, but I'm fine with it not being in the anime. I do like this, because this has sort of, like, 3 established sort of, like, characters, or sets of characters. You have the Sherlock Moriarty, with the brother Moriarty, even though there's 2 brothers when traditionally there's 1, actually 3 brothers. That's sort of sharing the Moriarty, and you also have people like Irene Adler, sort of like Sherlock Holmes, Mycroft, and John Watson, and I forgot the other person. The person that's also, there's a point where they mention this, but that's going to be important. And they have all those characters. The other one is Billy the Kid. But I don't know much about Billy the Kid, so I'm not going to mention how that's important at all. So yeah, that's there. And in the middle is James Bond. And we have a lot of characters from James Bond. Not only do we have introduced in this book Moneypenny, who is an important figure. If you don't know who Moneypenny is, if I'm correct, if you looked at the Daniel Craig Skyfall film, the person who shot James Bond and later becomes somewhat of a big figure, that I think is the character of Moneypenny. I might be wrong, but that is the character of Moneypenny. You also have, but in this, you have this character as sort of like Moneypenny, who I think is really interesting. you also have Q, which I think which is also sort of being put in position by one of the Moriarty brothers until it gets taken over later on. Actually, I won't mention that bit because that's not important yet. But at the current moment is being currently taken on. I'm just going to use it because I have this guy. But I have the book here because I'm going to review it in a bit. The other thing that this has is one other thing. And it has James Bond. And I'm not going to go into how all of that works, even though I think I already did. But I'm going to try it because that comes later and I want to do that on its own thing. So I like the fact that they have Moneypenny in this because it shows more. They also have, I think, M. No, M's the guy by that one. Q, which I love. M spelled E-M, like M. And Q is spelled Q-U-E, rather than it being the letter and the letter Q. So it's fun. That's a fun idea. It's like, no, we're Q. I don't know if that's a legal thing or what, but I think it's cool. But again, it is a fun idea, and this is one of the characters that I was interested of how they're going to do, and I do find it interesting. Again, this is really good, and the one thing which I haven't mentioned is one of the people who's in it, sort of the sniper of the group, is one character that I like. I was going to say one of my favourites, but it's not, because it would be nowhere close to, I would say number one obviously is Moriarty. Number two is like M, because I like, out of these same zany characters, there's one character that's just like, Auntie? And that's not that simple role, it's more the fact that she is the most normal of the bunch. The others are literally insane, and she's the only one that sort of acts calm. And she does have that like calm, like, I think that's on purpose because she's this spy-like. So that the fact that she can do this calculation is really interesting overall. But it deals with his thing with the war and one person doing this thing, which is really good because the last book sort of deals with the other one. Oh yeah, I forgot this bit. This book ends with the sort of like Watson possibly getting pregnant, but not really a major thing. But it deals with one line which I like. I was just only fan. I mean, it's like something along the lines of like, oh, what would you say? It's like, catch me if you can, Mr. Holmes, which I think is clever because it's like, oh, I'm joking. You're not this criminal mastermind. But if you were, what would you say to me? It's like we both look at each other and be like, I know who you are, and I know that you know who I am. And I don't know if it's like they know or they sort of are like trying to like game each other out, which is clever. So yeah, an update from here. Update. I never care. So yeah. But yeah, here's another Marvel one, which weirdly enough technically means that this is another one that sort of is another, because Luke Cage, I watch all of them, which is only 2 seasons, and Iris, and I watch all of them, which is the second out of the 5, or technically 4 series if you're dealing with the Defenders, without the Defenders group because that's only one, that the 4 main heroes, that their sort of main thing is other. I know there might be more, like Daredevil, and I'm not going to fuse the Netflix Daredevil with the new Daredevil, even though that would make logical sense. I don't know, because I think they're separate enough to be something. So, but I do think this was a good series, but that'll be for tomorrow. I don't know why I sometimes ramble myself through this, but yeah, I'm not good at this. I hope you enjoy